Alright, budget magic time. Mono white angels in standard. And this hand's pretty fine. We got our one of Hedron Archive, which is good, since we have our one of our two of Emiria Shepherds. Everyone's playing green. Oath of Nissa. So what is this? This could be any number of things. We'll probably know more once they hit with Oath of Nissa. Could be tokens, could be ramp, could be a mid-range deck, like Naya. So many possibilities. Cinderglade. Alright. Still could be ramp. Still could be, like, Naya. Less likely to be tokens. Well, planes go. Hopefully it's not ramp. I would rather play, like, Naya mid-range than ramp, I think. I don't think ramp is a great matchup for us. Another forest. And opponent passes. Leaning towards green-red ramp, which makes me a little sad. I don't think it's impossible that we beat green-red ramp, but I think it's a rough matchup. Definitely not designed with green-red ramp in mind. Cinderglade. Now, I have no idea. If it's ramp, our opponent's hand is really bad. Eldrazi Displacer. Threat number 1. Ship the turn. Do they have like an explosive vegetation or something? Another Cinderglade. Alright, so this does look like green-red ramp. Hedron Archive. Melt Plains. Archangel of Tithes. Angel number 1. Opponent's only got 4 cards in hand. And Chandra doesn't match up that well with Archangel. Well, get in for 3. Pass the turn. Another land for our opponent. Do they have Atarka, Worldbreaker, Chandra? There's Atarka. Hits Archangel of Tithes. Okay. Well, Majoring Network. Hedron Archive. Pass the turn. Well, if our opponent doesn't have another huge threat, we're kind of in okay shape. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. Chandra. Chandra's annoying. Alright, gonna kill our Eldrazi Displacer. Well, that means we blink the Atarka. Alright. Opponent passes. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Emiria Shepherd. Plains. Get back Eldrazi Displacer. And pass the turn. Come on. No more big threats. Oh god, Oath of Nissa. Probably going to find our opponent something. Legend rules itself. Opponent finds a forest? Interesting. They just wanted mana? Plays the forest. Well, they don't have Ulamog mana yet. Draws some new cards. Discards Hedron Archive and Mountain. You would have think they would have wanted to do that before they played the forest, but second Chandra would be game over, I think. Opponent's really tanking over there. Alright, Worldbreaker. Worldbreaker's a little annoying since we don't have a second colorless source. Yep. Okay. Let's see if our opponent attacks with Atarka. They do. Alright, so we take 8 here. So another colorless source. Another colorless source would be very good. Pacifism also works. So now we play a Plains, get back our Archangel. Pacifism on the World Breaker. Then we kill Chandra, hit our opponent. And then just pass the turn, see what our opponent has here. Ulamog is still pretty bad. But it's less bad since we have Tragic Arrogance. We can put our opponent down to just the World Breaker, which is pacified. And our opponent only has 2 cards. They go on the attack. They have to pay 1 to attack. So now we have the jankiest removal combo of all time. Hallowed Moonlight. And then Displace Dragonlord Atarka. We did it! Oh, and they got nothing? Oh, sweet. Well, now we get to attack with everything. We might actually be getting there somehow. Put our opponent to 3. Battlefield Forge. Pass the turn. Oh, Hallowed Moonlight Eldrazi Displacer. Combo. I think this is a horrible matchup, too. So almost no matter what our opponent does, short of wrathing our board, we should be able to win with Tragic Arrogance, I think? What do they have? Something colorless, by the looks. Alright. Another Chandra. I don't think Chandra does it, though. Okay. Takes down Chandra, kills some stuff. But we still have a lethal Archangel. Opponent passes. Then we attack for 3. And that does it. Wow. Alright. Well, we actually took a game from Ramp, which seems like one of our worst possible matchups. What can we do against Ramp? I mean, I guess we just try to get in there quickly. Our enchantment-based removal is fairly bad. Could bring in Descend Upon the Sinful. Maybe Quarantine Field to get rid of Chandras, which are pretty annoying. Tragic Arrogance isn't that great because they usually only have 1 big threat. So maybe we want Descend Upon the Sinful over a couple Tragic Arrogance. Or maybe 3 Tragic Arrogance and just try it like that. Yeah, let's give that a shot. Alright, game 2 against Green-Red Ramp. And, well, we can feel good that we won a game. Forest for our opponent, and Oath of Nissa, I assume. Yep, Oath of Nissa. Our opponent also used an insane amount of time in that game for playing a really fast aggro deck. They're down to 11 minutes, and we're at 21. So if they don't pick up the pace, that could be an issue for them as well. Gets a Sanctum of Ugin. Oh, Plains go. Mountain for our opponent. And passes. Well, Plains go. We're not going to play Knight yet. We're going to wait till next turn so we get a free land out of it. Another Mountain. And opponent passes. Ooh. Alright, well, Knight of the White Orchid gets us a land. A Plains. Play another Plains. Pass the turn. And opponent just kills it. Alright. That's fine. I guess they want to have it in the graveyard, the Kozilek's Return, for flashback possibilities. Sanctum of Ugin. and explosive vegetation. Do we want to play Hedron Archive? Thing is, if we play it and they just untap land Worldbreaker, then we get no value out of it. When if we wait one more turn, we can play it and potentially sack it if we need to. But the bigger threat might be Chandra here. This hand is going to have a hard time beating Chandra. Alright, let's Hedron Archive. Plains, pass the turn. See what our opponent has. Ooh, just ramp? Oh, that's encouraging. That's very encouraging. No big play. They do get a bunch of lands out of their deck, though. And a forest. So they have a ton of mana. Well, Plains go. The big worry here is Chandra. We can deal with an Ulamog, I think. 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 mana. So not Ulamog yet. Probably going to cash in Hedron Archive either way. Worldbreaker. Alright, targets are Hedron Archive. So we are going to sack it to draw a couple cards. Ooh, Stasis Snare and Hallowed Moonlight. They do not sack the Sanctum. Alright, let's see what we draw. Archangel of Tithes. Well, let's play Archangel, play a Plains, pass the turn. What's our opponent have now? Another Worldbreaker? Worldbreaker number 2. That's a lot of Worldbreakers. Going after a Plains. Alright, let's Stasis Snare, hit Worldbreaker. Sacks the Sanctum. What are they getting? An Ulamog, alright. Are they sacking this Sanctum as well? Alright, they flash back the Kozilek's Return, so at least that's gone. Opponent taps, untaps, and passes. Well, let's pacify Worldbreaker. Majoring Network, pass the turn. So what we're hoping for is our opponent plays Ulamog, hits Stasis Snare and Pacifism so they can start dealing damage, and then we untap and descend upon the Sinful to kill all 3 Worldbreakers and the Ulamog. But they can't do that yet. Hedron Archive, and it is looking like our opponent might tap out. They're playing very slow for this matchup. Hedron Archive. Well, let's put a storage counter on Majoring Network. Another Plains. Alright, Plains go. Does not sack a Hedron Archive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's Ulamog. What's Ulamog gonna target? Majoring Network and Stasis Snare. Well, this works out even better, actually. Because now we get to Tragic Arrogance and leave just the pacified Worldbreaker and still have Descend Upon the Sinful to deal with the next threat. Actually, let's Hallowed Moonlight here. And it'll keep this Worldbreaker from coming back into play. Alright, Thraben Inspector's fine. Does our opponent sack the Sanctum? They do. And gets another Ulamog. Yup. They're out of Sanctums, though. Are we actually winning this match? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tragic Arrogance. Opponent keeps Pacified Worldbreaker, Oath of Nissa, 1 Hedron, Archive. We keep Pacifism. Then Thraben Inspector. And now we actually have 4 card types in our graveyard. So we're going to get the Angel out of this Descend Upon the Sinful. So, while I think our opponent's going to time out, but we might be winning this match anyway. Opponent taps their mana, does nothing with it. Alright, Shrine. Well, I thought Ramp would be a really bad matchup, but we're kind of sticking in it this game. Here comes Ulamog number 2, I assume. What's Ulamog going after this time? Probably just lands? Pacifism land? Something like that? Thraben Inspector Pacifism? Some combination of those things. 2 lands. Well, okay. That's fine. Let's sack a clue. Another Thraben Inspector. Opponent passes. We play Battlefield Forge. Play Descend Upon the Sinful. Play Thraben Inspector. And pass the turn. Another land for our opponent. Do they have another threat? They need another threat. Explosive Vegetation. Well, we might just actually be winning this game. We've killed a lot of their threats permanently somehow. 2 Ulamogs. Or no. Yeah, 2 Ulamogs, 2 World Breakers, and a Kozilek's Return is down. So even though we're technically going to win because our opponent is playing too slowly, I feel like we actually have a reasonable chance of just winning this game. Now, they have another Kozilek's Return. Alright. Well, 1, 2, 3, Eldrazi Displacer. Get in 4/4 with our Angel. And pass the turn. Another, and that's the problem with Ramp. Like, you play your big threats, but if something happens to your big threats, you're just kind of out of luck. You don't really have much you can do once the game gets to that point. Opponent passes. Well, we get to crack a clue. Archangel of Tithes. Quarantine Field. Good draw. So, Plains. Archangel of Tithes. Attack 4/7. Puts our opponent to 9. And we are representing lethal. So our opponent basically has 1 turn to draw something. They time out here anyway, but I think we're going to win that match. Like, I can't believe we beat Ramp. That's not what we're designed to beat, but it happened, so sweet.